Hey vinyl community, Jeff here, and I'm jumping on another contest. Yes, another contest that Jeff's entering. Anyway, this is over for Simon over at BeardyRedViking. He reached 125 subscribers about a week ago, less than a week ago, a couple of days ago. And he's having a contest, and it's based on the 125 number because of that. So yeah, he's up to about 150 some odd subscribers now. So if you haven't checked him out, check him out. A little bit into, the heavier side of things if you're into that. Great stuff. So he's got, like I said, it's 3-prong contest questions. 3 questions, 1, 2, and 5 are the topics because of the 125. He wants to hear one band that you like that might surprise people, 2 bands that you hate that might surprise people that they wouldn't expect you to hate, and 5 bands that you basically that have come out in the past 5 years that you go back to or revisit often. Some of your favorite albums from 5 years. So let's get into this. These kind of questions about bands that people wouldn't expect you to like, or oddities, or guilty pleasures, or things like that have come up quite often. So if you watch my channel for any length of time, there's probably not much to surprise you because I have mentioned a lot of these before. And I'm trying to be a little different, but I'm not going to mention the Partridge Family that I'm a huge fan of. David Cassidy, I'm a huge fan of. Adam and the Ants, Adamant, these are all bands. I tend to, obviously, if you watch my channel, I tend to lean towards, rock, hard rock. And so those are a little out of that era. But I have a huge love for. So they are the different. So I'm going to go with a little different. Also on my channel, I show all kinds of different styles of music. Though, again, I do tend to be more on the rock side. But for a band that might surprise people, I have shown it before, so it may not surprise all of you, but I am a big Kenny G fan. I cut my teeth back in the 80s on when I got into jazz. I had a friend who turned me on to a couple different bands. I've mentioned this before: Spyro Gyre, Billy Cobham, and Kenny G. And I went out and bought up and used to listen to Kenny G all the time through the late 80s, early 90s, and on. I admit, when he got all commercial and started doing stuff with, every singer that was a pop star, whatever. I don't like that stuff, but all of his classics, his first handful of albums, his live album, all of that stuff, I love it all. And so, yeah, I am a Kenny G fan, and wherever that takes me, don't unsubscribe, please. I do like jazz. I like saxophone-related jazz a lot, obviously drum-type related jazz. Have been getting a little more into a little more of the jazz fusion-y side. I'm not a big fan of the improv jazz or the chaos or whatever, and I've tried listening to a lot of stuff, but that's not what I'm going to talk about, the bands you hate. Now, 2 bands that you hate that might surprise people. Hate's a big word. Honestly, obviously, I'm not a fan of band. I don't want to say I hate Nirvana, but I don't really like Nirvana. But that's not a surprise, so that can't be a band I'm going to mention. But it's really tough. I dislike or don't necessarily appreciate or get into bands, but it would be tough to really say I hate that band. So these are not bands I hate. These are just bands that probably should be in my wheelhouse of enjoyment, that a lot of people in my circles enjoy, that are really popular, that I just have honestly not been able to get into as much. So I don't hate them, I just haven't been able to really get hooked on it. Motorhead's one of them. I've bought some of the recent Motorhead Record Store Day things, to check it out, and I have pretty much all of their stuff digitally in some format or another. But honestly, I listen to it sparingly. It's just not a band that, it's the vocals and everything. I appreciate what they are and what they did, but for my listening pleasure, they don't get much time. And like I said, I don't hate them. I still have a lot of their stuff, but I just haven't been able to get into them. Another one is Cheap Trick. Everybody loves Cheap Trick. I have Dream Police. It was okay. It wasn't mind-blowing. I don't know if I'll go out and buy a lot of their discography. I know the hits. Our band plays hits by them. And I remember seeing them in concert back in the 80s. And it's just, they're not, you know, I know they're hugely popular, and in most rock circles, they are a big, I know some people that are absolute Cheap Trick fanatics, but they just haven't done a whole lot for me. Again, I don't hate them. If I see their stuff in the wild, I probably would still buy it, but it's not like they've really captured my attention like some bands. Now, the next are 5 albums from the past 5 years that you go back to, that you enjoy. So I mean, there's a lot of great albums, and there's some that, you know, in the past year that I've still been going back to. I try to exclude them because obviously they're new releases, you go back to them. So I want to dig a little further back into my collection for albums that came out, you know, more than a year ago, up to back as far as 2017. And so that's where I decided to go with. And find, so We the People, Adrenaline Mob, I believe was the last album by them, as far as they haven't done anything since. Absolutely just a powerhouse album from start to finish. Absolutely. Of course, this was when they got the new drummer. This was after AJ passed away, and I don't know, the guys just took it to the next level. And to me, this is just an amazingly powerful album that gets my attention. I like all the Adrenaline Mob stuff, but this one has really captured my attention a lot. Then we got the Subversive Kind by Deliverance. Deliverance is a thrash metal band that went through a lot of different style changes. They started off as a thrash metal band. A lot of people didn't like the fact that they went through a lot of different changes over the years. They kind of come back to their roots with some heavier stuff. But with the Subversive Kind, this album came out, it was pretty much a return to form in their thrashier days. And most people eat it up, and I eat it up. It's a great album. So this is one, I mean, I love all the Deliverance stuff. But that one I have revisited quite a bit in 5 years. Detritus Myths. This is a band that had some albums out in the late 80s, early 90s, disappeared for centuries. Disappeared for decades and came back with this album. And while it's not quite as thrashy in places as the old stuff, it's got kind of a slowed down effect. It's got my attention. It's great listening. I really enjoy this album, this return by this band that we hadn't heard from in so long. And I love that album and going back to it. The Nature of the Beast by Impellitary. Absolutely a big Impellitary fan. They only put out albums, you know, every few years, so it's great when they do, and this is their latest, and it's still on my turntable, in my player quite often. Love them. Chris Impellitary, guitar player, shredder. Rob Rock, excellent vocalist. All around great album, as all of their stuff is. And then, of course, what Jeff list wouldn't be complete without something by Neil Morse. Neil Morse has done quite a few great albums in the past 5 years. And this is one that goes back pretty much the furthest in that time frame. The Great Adventure. This is the second portion of the story. The prior album, The Similitude of a Dream, was the first part, and this is like a secondary story, rock opera. Anyway, based loosely on Pilgrim's Progress, and this basically would be Christiana's Progress, sort of, kind of, but it's kind of like a picking up of part 2-ish of a Pilgrim's Progress. But yes, great stuff, Neil Morse. And that would be it. That's 5 great albums that I have revisited. That's the contest. There'll be a link below. You can jump on this contest. Go subscribe, check him out, see if you like the channel. Stick around for a while, enter the contest, and I'll be back. Rock on and rock hard.